This is FAFO, holler it loud. Fuck around with fiction, get the facts drawn. Getting triggers just the cost of the crowd. We're toxic to the lies, truth we're proud. This is FAFO, no smooth talk, no vow. You brought your stories, we brought the real. Now run your mouth and meet the South down. Fuck around and find out, burn it down. Muddy water don't care about your brand new shoes.
There was a time when Hollywood created legends, real movie stars, larger than life figures who existed almost beyond reality itself. Hollywood's golden era, like true movie star pioneers. You had John Wayne, Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable, James Stewart, Gary Cooper, Charlton Heston, Audrey Hepburn, Bette Davis, Marlon Brando, Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Charlie Chaplin. They weren't trying to be political activists, social engineers, or corporate spokespeople. They were stars. They weren't influencers pretending to be stars. They were stars who became immortal through storytelling. They lived for the spotlight, the glamour, the red carpets, the attention, and the fantasy that surrounded the entire entertainment industry back then. The old Hollywood giants focused on becoming unforgettable on screen. You know, the only politics many of them truly cared about were studio politics. Who got the lead role, who landed the contract, who became the next icon, and who ruled the box office. Audiences didn't go to the movies to hear lectures. They went to escape, to laugh, to dream, to believe in heroes, adventures, romance, rebellion, and impossible worlds. And because the focus remained on storytelling, on that charisma and that emotional connection, Hollywood became one of the most powerful cultural machines in human history. Think about this. It created characters like Luke Skywalker, Indiana Jones, Rocky Balboa, Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor, Han Solo, Aragorn, Superman. These are characters that transcended generations because audiences emotionally connected to their journeys. These stories weren't beloved because they checked ideological boxes. They didn't push corporate messaging. They worked because they were built on timeless themes: sacrifice, courage, redemption, hope, love, struggle, true heroism. Hollywood once understood something simple but powerful. Audiences come to stories wanting to feel something. But somewhere along the way, something changed. Modern Hollywood increasingly stopped trying to entertain audiences and started trying to correct them. Studios began prioritizing messaging, identity politics, activism, and ideological branding over compelling storytelling and authentic character development. I mean, millions of viewers now feel modern entertainment has become less interested in creating escapism and more interested in delivering lectures. And instead of building emotional journeys, many modern films feel engineered around political checklists, shallow writing, corporate approved messaging that often alienates the very fan bases these franchises were built upon. And nowhere is that collapse more visible than in franchises like Star Wars. Star Wars was once one of the most beloved and mythical intellectual properties on Earth. Star Wars represented imagination, mythology, heroism, mystery, and adventure. But under Disney, Many longtime fans believe the franchise lost sight of the very storytelling principles that made it legendary in the first place. Oversaturation, inconsistent creative direction, divisive character writing, and a growing perception of message-first storytelling has fractured the audience and damaged trust in the brand itself. What was once a cultural phenomenon now often feels emotionally exhausted. And Star Wars is far from alone. It's not the only one. We have Marvel fatigue. You've got this reboot culture, endless remakes, franchise cannibalization, and Hollywood elitism have all contributed to growing audience frustration. This isn't simply about movies failing financially anymore. It's about the collapse of trust between audiences and Hollywood itself. People increasingly feel the industry no longer understands ordinary viewers. Celebrities worth hundreds of millions lecture working class audiences about morality, politics, identity, and culture, while ticket prices rise and storytelling quality declines at an astronomical rate. Meanwhile, us, the audience, we're quietly walking away. Younger generations increasingly turn towards what now? YouTube. You see these YouTube creators everywhere. They would rather be entertained by the YouTube creators, by the streamers, by gamers, by podcasts, by these independent creators. And they turn to them for entertainment that feels more authentic, less corporate, and less emotionally manipulative. And now Hollywood finds itself facing a terrifying reality. Audiences no longer care. Audiences no longer just will automatically give you their money. All right? So they don't care because some famous logo appears on the screen. You can't just throw Lucasfilm up there and everybody's going, oh, they get all giddy and go, oh, I can't wait for this. It's going to be awesome. Because once trust disappears, franchises weaken. And once audiences emotionally disconnect from the stories themselves, even the biggest entertainment empire in the world can begin to collapse from within. And that's amazing because Hollywood once ruled culture through imagination. And now the very town built on imagination has a huge lack of it. And now it may be fighting for survival against the very audience it stopped listening to. You know, it's funny because Hollywood at one point instinctually knew an incredibly powerful fact of storytelling. And it remains true to this day. Audiences connect to characters before they connect to anything else. The greatest films in history succeeded because they made people emotionally invest in heroes, the villains, struggles, the triumphs, the sacrifice, and hope. People didn't fall in love with movies because studios checked corporate boxes or inserted political messaging into every scene. They fell in love with Luke Skywalker staring at the twin suns, dreaming of something bigger. They loved Indiana Jones because he was flawed, funny, brave, but adventurous. They connected with Rocky Balboa because he represented perseverance. Characters like Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, Aragorn, Han Solo, and countless others became timeless because audiences cared about their journeys. The stories came first. Themes were universal. Great storytelling made audiences feel something deeply human. regardless of politics, identity, or ideology. And perhaps nowhere is Hollywood's modern collapse more visible than in the handling of Star Wars under Disney. It truly was one of the most beloved franchises on earth. It was a cultural phenomenon built on those timeless archetypes that resonated across generations. But many longtime fans now believe Disney fundamentally misunderstood why audiences love Star Wars in the first place. And instead of carefully expanding the mythology, the franchise became oversaturated with endless content. And we talked about the inconsistent storytelling. They didn't even have a plan for the original trilogy. They were so anxious just to throw up a movie and say, look what we did, that they didn't care about the planning and the storytelling. And people like Kathleen Kennedy, who grew up under George Lucas's wing, should have known better. But the messaging became bigger than the product in their eyes. Instead of carefully expanding the mythology like they should have. And despite what Kathleen Kennedy would tell you famously in interviews, she said they had no mythologies drawn, yet there is a ton of Star Wars novels out there that was canon according to George Lucas that he personally okayed to continue those stories and to really fill out those characters post the movies. And yet they had nothing to draw on. They pretend like the rest of us were just hallucinating. Like, what? And it's these decisions they come up with were all for the sake of messaging. And they let that messaging overtake that storytelling. Legacy characters that many fans grew up admiring were reworked in ways that completely alienated audiences. And then they shoehorned these new characters in who struggled to emotionally connect with the viewers. And the result you got from this was fan backlash, creative confusion, audience fatigue, and a fractured fan base. Disney didn't inherit a dying franchise. They inherited a cultural empire. And many fans, including myself, believe Hollywood damaged one of the most powerful entertainment properties in history, a money printing machine, by forgetting the simple truth that audiences primarily want compelling stories, not ideological lectures. And they still haven't figured this out yet. This simple lesson. These failed box offices, and they still cannot understand why. They double down, they triple down, they quadruple down. You took the once beloved Han Solo and Princess Leia and all their struggle that came before and made them into the galaxy's worst parents. Did anyone really believe that Han Solo would just let the Millennium Falcon just wander out through space for 20 years? And then all of a sudden, everything just finds itself all at once? No. Because you hire writers who don't know anything. They can barely write a commercial. And one of the biggest frustrations audiences increasingly express in modern Hollywood is the perception that many films now prioritize messaging over storytelling. Because here's the truth. Viewers do not reject diversity. We don't care. Strong female characters, we've had them. We've talked about Ripley. Princess Leia, another strong female character. We talked about Sarah Connor. Strong female characters. And you know why audiences resonated with those characters? Not because we were told to. Not because we were told, hey, this is a badass character, she's female, and you have to support her, and she's going to be invincible. No. We fell in love with those characters because they were well written, well fleshed out. They had all of their flaws. They had to struggle for every little ground they got, and we could feel that, and we could get behind that. Hollywood itself proves this point historically, right? Again, we talk about Ripley from Aliens, Sarah Connor, Terminator. What about Furiosa? They were compelling, flawed, layered, and emotionally engaging. I don't know about Furiosa so much, but I was trying to think of other leading ladies and stuff that I really liked and characters that were really well written currently. And those are hard to find. Those are hard to find. The issues many viewers have, again, and this is my view, isn't representation itself. It's just shallow writing, weak characterization, and stories that often feel constructed around, again, ideology first, narrative second. The Force is female. Really? Is it? Is it really? Because when characters feel less like people and more like corporate approved messaging vehicles, emotional investment is going to disappear every single time. Great stories immerse the audience naturally. Heavy-handed messaging often pulls them out of the experience entirely. And one of the sad parts about it is today's youth has no clue. They actually think today's writing is good storytelling. They have no idea what compelling storytelling is. Good morning, Mike. That's why Project Hail Mary worked. A hero, a great side character, great ending, and I agree. Completely compelling storytelling. Well-rounded, well thought out. If you don't agree with the ideology, Hollywood attacks the fans for not agreeing with the message, and that is verifiably true. It's what they do. They act like you're the problem, not the incompetent writers in the writer's room. Not the corporate messaging said, we have to check all these boxes. Even the Oscars themselves have come out and said, if you don't check these boxes, then your film is automatically bad and moved down the list where you're not going to be awarded an award. You have to check a box to make a film. And they wonder still, while the modern viewing audience has walked away. It's not because people don't want to go to the movies. I love going to the movies. But give me a damn movie worth going to see. Give me a movie worth paying my hard-earned money for on your bloated cost to watch. I'll go. Project Hail Mary being another good example of that. Love that movie. Great movie. Great storytelling. Worth every dollar. And that's the lesson. Great stories will get the audience in the door. But this gaslighting, echo chamber that Hollywood has found itself in isn't doing it. Time after time, they failed. Everything Disney has done, Disney Star Wars has done, and Lucasfilm has done recently has failed. Now, I haven't seen Mandalorian and Grogu. I love the first two seasons. I thought the writing was pretty tight on there, pretty hands-on. I liked it. Hated the third season. It became less about Mando and more about everybody else. And again, the Acolyte was pure trash. Acolyte is a lesson in check boxes, in ideological check boxes. And it was horrible. and it suffered because of it. And look, Marvel, yet another Disney-owned property. It's the same way, except now we're working from a oversaturation standpoint. And I will say I did love the new season of Daredevil. Wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. The Punisher one-off they just did, 45 minutes or so. Let's little gap filler for the Punisher with John Bernthal. Excellent. Loved it. Fantastic. So you see that, and it makes you angry because you know they're capable of doing it. They're capable of hiring competent people who want to make competent experiences for the fans. And when they're allowed to do so, we get great stuff. Stuff that has nothing to do with right and left. It has nothing to do with pro this or anti that. It's just you showing up and enjoying a great story that takes you out of all that garbage we're inundated with every day. And these studio executives who, for some reason, everybody thinks are geniuses, like they've got some Einstein-level IQ, can't figure it out. These people, they just pluck. A lot of them aren't even from the entertainment industry. They said, well, he's a CEO. They must know. She's a CEO. She must know. And they don't. And we're forced into more and more garbage. I have found far more provocative writing on TV. Some of these shows that I absolutely have fallen in love with because the writing is so good. And talking about the oversaturation problem with Marvel, you have to have now a guide to get through everything, right? You have to have a manual. It's almost like doing cinematic homework. All right, which movies do I have to watch to get to this point? Where's this one coming in? We've got all these nonstop spinoffs. We got villains that are awful. Like these people cannot even write a good villain. The villains are terrible. And I love superheroes. And there are endless stories you can write. They have and own all this resources to great villains, to great heroes, to great writing from legendary writers like Peter David. It's just sitting out there. And yet none of them can think, hey, outside of just the true comic book nerds who really like to read those, like myself, there are millions and millions of people who've never read these stories, who don't know them. Let's adapt those to the big screen. Except that their adaptation means change everything. Oh, it's just, it boggles the mind. Emotional investment cannot be mass produced indefinitely without strong storytelling foundations holding everything together. And then they're trapped inside this reboot culture. I'm so tired of seeing reboots. Now they're rebooting stuff that's not even 5 years old. It's wild. And instead of creating new myths, new icons, and new worlds, they repeatedly return to the old intellectual properties because existing brands felt financially safer and because they don't have writers who are capable of creating new worlds. And yet you can go to a bookstore. You know what those are? You know what those are? It's a store you can go into and the shelves are just lined with these things called books. Yeah. You open one up and there's all kinds of words in them and they create a story. There are tons of great books, compelling, exciting books that people would be dying to experience. True storytellers. Not somebody right out of college with a political agenda trying to write something about life experiences they know nothing of. And for Disney, they're banking on nostalgia. And Nostalgia only works temporarily. In Force Awakens, I love seeing the Millennium Falcon again. But God, was I disappointed that Han Solo would leave his baby for 30 years. Just floating around on a desert planet that obviously they knew existed. But like one of these guys never saw the Millennium Falcon. Like you just buy the Millennium Falcon or steal it and then just leave it under a tarp for 30 years. That's what you expect us to believe? That Han Solo and Princess Leia hated their kid, so they just tossed it out. Wished it the best of luck. That some girl on the same desert planet where all this is taking place. And it's got to be a desert planet because that's where Luke was from. And she's female, so she's got to be twice as good. She has no flaws and can beat and take down a trained Sith without any training of her own. She just knows how to do it better. And we're supposed to buy that because Disney tells you Star Wars. And now those logos used to mean something. You pop Star Wars up, you pop Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar, Disney, any of it. And people got excited. Like, well, this one's about to be fun. And yet, where people used to show up automatically, they don't anymore. Those brands once stood for quality storytelling, and now it's just like, oh God, another one of these. Really? There are too many viewers that hesitate nowadays because of the damage these Disney execs, and it's not just Disney. Disney's just the easiest one to point out. Look at what DC has done. They've been horrible for a long time. Warner Brothers, what are you doing? You had the perfect Superman. Now your Superman's wearing pajamas. The problem I have is while audience today, they'll wait for reviews, online reactions, right? I do. Like when I used to be first in line, now I'm waiting. I'm like, is it worth my time? Is it worth my effort? Is it worth my money to go see this? And God bless the reaction channels who do go have to see all this stuff because they built their brand off of it. Because there's a few I trust out there. And it's like, are you serious? Because what do we get? What's the fear for me? Preachy writing. Put that in there. Disrespect the source material. Nope, terrible. The shallow storytelling, the check boxes. Did we check the boxes? The full-on creative incompetence. And again, it's ideological, and I'm having trouble speaking this morning, and I apologize. But that ideological messaging that overwhelms the actual story is nails on a chalkboard grading. And Hollywood lost something incredibly valuable, and they don't even understand what it is, and that's audience trust. And once audiences emotionally disconnect from a franchise or studio, rebuilding that trust becomes extremely difficult. And now you've got resentment because now you got the Hollywood elitism. All right, these actors are out here preaching to everybody, telling you how you need to vote politically, how you need to feel. And they don't even live in the same world you do. They live in their houses on these hilltops while we are out here blue collar struggling every day, trying to make ends meet, living in the real world of getting up, grinding it out, paying our bills, coming home, raising our children. We don't have nannies that do that. We don't have assistants that do all our errands for us. And yet, how many people around us let them preach to us? How many people around us put these stars who are so out of touch with reality on these pedestals and give them guidance over us? Like for some reason, their intellect is up here And ours is down here simply because they play pretend or they sing songs. The idol worship we have gives these types of people power. And that's terrible. It's why people turn to YouTube personalities instead. These streamers and podcasters, people would rather go to Joe Rogan, to Sean Ryan, Asmongold, any of these people like this. Dave Rubin, Brandon Tatum, who's my personal favorite. They would rather go to these people because they know at least these people are going to be honest. Whether you agree or disagree with whatever's being told about, at least those people are going to be honest. You don't have to worry if they're trying to snow job you somewhere. What they feel is what they feel. You like it, you don't, and they're fine with that. And this Hollywood elitism has just gotten to a point where, again, your younger generations and the one that keep coming are geared more towards the YouTubes, the gaming worlds, these independent creators, more so than traditional movie stars. I mean, you have to look. Entertainment itself has decentralized. It has. Podcasts now command millions of loyal listeners. Independent creators often feel more authentic than corporate entertainment brands. Hollywood's no longer simply competing against other studios. It's competing against the entire internet for human attention. And in many ways, it's losing that battle. So the question is, can Hollywood recover? And I think the solution is actually pretty simple. Return to great storytelling. Audiences still crave that. They want these compelling characters, these emotional journeys. They want meaningful stakes, authentic heroes, imagination, escapism, and stories that emotionally resonate. But once you criticize Hollywood, what do? You're accused of being toxic. Yeah. So instead of acknowledging their weak storytelling, they've turned on the fans. It's the fans' fault that all their incredible storytelling and world building was trash. It's not them, it's you. You're the problem. They tell you you're the problem. And the gatekeepers and the sheeple agree with them. It is amazing how many fans out there have that zombie mentality. Have that mentality like these people actually care about them when what they care about is their checkbook and their pocketbook. They don't care about you. They could care less. Yeah. I mean, this growing vilification of the fandoms that originally made these franchises successful in the first place is laughable. There is no Star Wars without the original fans. There's no Indiana Jones without the original fans. No Rocky Balboa. No Alien movies, no Predator movies. None of that exists without the actual fans. Hollywood didn't do that. The fans created your success because you endeavored to actually try what you're supposed to do, and that's great storytelling. And you're killing your golden goose. I mean, think about this. For decades, passionate fans were the lifeblood of major intellectual properties. Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, Ghostbusters. There's so many. These were the people who did what? They bought the merchandise. They stood in line at midnight premieres. Nobody does that anymore. They memorized the lore, built fan communities, attended conventions. They passed the stories down to their children. And they helped transform these franchises into global cultural phenomena. And all of these people are the ones you decided to alienate, to vilify, because they don't fit the messaging. They don't check any of your boxes because you're so out of touch. You have no idea what those boxes actually mean. And without those original audiences, many of these intellectual properties would never have survived long enough to become billion-dollar brands. You think these people you preach to actually come out to watch your garbage? The box office numbers show that they don't. And you certainly don't have repeat viewers from fans like me who come out and hope that maybe they get this one right. Then, of course, we're left feeling disappointed once again, and we never come back. Because when a fan expresses their disappointment, Hollywood comes after them. The actors come after them. The fans now are toxic. They're some kind of racist, sexist, hateful, some kind of phobic. They're politically problematic. You got to be a this or that. Instead of listening to why fans feel disconnected from the material, many studios and media outlets, they immediately frame criticism as moral failure rather than legitimate dissatisfaction with storytelling. And there is a backlash, and it's getting bigger and bigger towards some of these actors and directors and celebrities who come out and publicly attack large portions of these fan bases. And these aren't just your Rachel Ziegler's of the world, these newer and younger actresses and actors. I mean, how bad do you have to take your own movie? Why? Because these people are more interested in political outrage and culture war arguments, things they know nothing about, by the way, things they're told to say and believe. And they know nothing about these things. You approach them with the facts, they melt down. Or they just scream over the top of you and scream idiotic stuff. And then you have other people over there who are fans going, yeah, that's what she said. What he said. That's got to be the truth because he said it. Like these zombies. And now, instead of audiences discussing characters and stories, the discussions become dominated by political outrage, cultural war arguments, interviews, social media fights, and celebrity activism. And now you see it. Many fans now are increasingly separate the art from the artist entirely, which is what you need to do. Or they'll simply stop supporting the product altogether. I mentioned Rachel Ziegler. Just tanked her own movie, Snow White. Why? Because she's an idiot. She described the original prince as essentially a stalker because, of course, he adds to be now in this day and age. The new version wasn't about the love story anymore. And what it did, it triggered such a huge backlash because she appeared dismissive toward a beloved classic instead of celebrating it. You got the lead role in a movie. Just shut the hell up and do your job. That's your role. That's your role. Your role is selling the movie, not alienating half an audience. If you can't handle that, don't be an actor. Don't take the job. Because that's your role. The only reason you get paid is because the audience goes to see your crap. That's the only reason. Brie Larson, another one. Remember how confrontational she was during parts of the Marvel's promotion cycle? Like even some of her co-stars couldn't stand to be around her. Like she was just grating, entitled. Like I hate these statements. She said, what, a 40-year-old white dude? You know, she didn't need a 40-year-old white dude telling her what worked about certain films. Really? You probably should have got one. because your shit was trash. Absolute trash. And speaking of Luke Skywalker, what about Mark Hamill? Right? I love Luke Skywalker, one of my favorite characters, but Mark Hamill's a damn idiot. And he proves it every time he opens his stupid mouth. Why? Because Mark doesn't have a career outside of a 50-year-old property and a voiceover as the Joker. That's Mark Hamill's career. And he knows he's got to do something. So he just jumped right into the political arena without even understanding it, without doing any research, which is what you find most of the time, especially from Hollywood. And look, here's the thing. I respect your right to your opinion and your beliefs. You can believe whatever, man. And that's on you. But don't tell us how we have to believe or we can't be fans. That's where the line is drawn. And he's just gotten aggressive. And he's alienated these audiences. I mean, it's really... He tried to put this off like it was on somebody else, but he made this quote at the, I think it was a fan expo in Chicago, where he says, "May the force be with you unless you're MAGA, then you can go force yourself." Which you know what he meant. He meant go fuck yourself. That's what he meant. That alienates half your audience. Just unprofessional. And then what? He gets on Blue Sky on that cesspool of garbage with the AI generated image of Donald Trump in a grave with a caption, "If only." He had to delete that one. There was such a backlash saying that's not what he meant. Yeah, it is. And they will tell you that he needs to be corruption and convicted and humiliated for his countless crimes. Which ones? Which ones? They'll say, well, he was indicted in 34 of the felonies. You probably need to do your research. Check it out. Everybody knows what that was. Unless you're just trying to make up your own narrative, which they do. And he's sick. I love that the White House just lashed out. He's one sick individual. And Hamill had to come out and clarify and apologize. But we have that. Mark Ruffalo is probably one of the biggest, most politically outspoken actors in Hollywood. Can't stand the dude. He's another idiot. Another idiot. Because of the uneducated things he says. Now, if you're coming out telling me stuff that's truthful, let's go. I'm with you, buddy. I may not agree with you on all things, but hey, all we want is the truth. At least your version of the truth. But we just can't make a fantasy and lies. And this hate speech is terrible. You flip that around and look what happened to Gina Carano. Gina was on The Mandalorian, beloved character. And she made one simple post on Twitter about neighbors. Remember World War II? Neighbors turning in other neighbors to the Germans, to the Nazis. That was a thing, folks. It happened. And then we kind of started seeing that. Your neighbors trying to turn you in because they disagree with you. They wanted you doxxed because they didn't agree with your political views. She posted one simple meme about that. Got her canned, but her co-worker, Pedro Pascal, could say anything he wants to. He can tell you he believes in the trans movement and having kids' genitals cut off, and it's okay. But for her, it wasn't, because she wasn't on the right side of the think. She didn't check the right boxes for the right party. And in Hollywood, there shouldn't be a party. You're there to entertain and tell stories. That's your job. And I love the fact that there are, for all of these people we just talked about, there are a lot of people who come out and they're getting further and further away and say, I'm not here to tell you any of that stuff. I'm here to make movies. I'm here to entertain. And that's your job, Hollywood. Your job is great storytelling. Your job is to entertain the masses, not half of them, not a certain think group. And it really isn't rocket science to know if I create great stories, if I don't alienate people, that's going to equal profitability, sustainability. It's truly basic economics. And yet, we see time and time again that Hollywood can't do this. So I'll ask you, what franchises do you think Hollywood damaged the most? Do audiences reject politics in movies? Or is it just bad storytelling? And can Disney ever fully repair Star Wars? And finally, has YouTube and gaming replaced Hollywood for younger generations? Because the truth is, empires rarely collapse all at once. They slowly lose the people who once believed in them. Mike says Matthew Riley writes the best action books. I have to check that out. Larry Correa Monster Hunter series, great fun action books. So yeah, those are things I want to check out. They attacked John Wayne, Elvis, and the Golden Era actors because they lived in a different time. And that's true. Like these people now understand it better. Again, they're these, the mindset, the gaslighting of actors today, of Hollywood itself today, is mind-bending. Truly mind-bending. And what's sad is that with all this information ability at our hand, to just go find out the truth, most of our society refuses to do it. Because they'd rather be told what to believe than actually find out for themselves. And we see it every day. If you'd like to become part of the podcast, it's easy. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, simply go to we're live here every morning on Kick and on Facebook from starting at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time here in the States. If you want to become part of the program, tune in there and drop your comments down below, just like Mike here has. You can comment all you want on the videos I put up on YouTube on the FAFO Podcast, Rumble, the FAFO Podcast, and we'll read your comments and put them on the show. Try to answer them the best we can. Because we don't claim to be all-knowing. We're just ordinary people with an ordinary podcast talking about real things that real people, real blue collars talk about every single day to our friends, neighbors, co-workers out here in the real world. And that's what we do. Don't preach to me. I want to enjoy a movie. Give me Godzilla, right? Exactly. I want fun stuff. I want exciting stuff. Stop telling me my way of thinking is wrong. I have the wrong color hat on. But that's up to us. That's up to the rest of us to fix that. Guys, tune in, help support us. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow. If you want to help support the podcast, you can go to FAFOpodcast.online, which I spent last night working on because it's acting really weird. I don't know why. Got to fix that. But help us out. Or you can simply do it without having to spend any kind of monies and just like and share. It's that easy. Building up these numbers, building up our audience is our main goal. It's our main goal. If there are subjects you would like for us to talk about, no matter what it is, and you can see from the first 3 weeks that we've talked about a little bit of everything here and there, and we're not afraid to approach any subject. All you got to do is drop us a message, and we'll do it, because you have been listening to the Fuck Around and Find Out podcast. Facts, truth, no BS. Let's effing go. See you next time.
Have a tank of gas. Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass? I ain't Preaching from a pulpit, I'm talking from the scar. You can dress up a lie, but it won't get far. They call it toxic when it burns your tongue. I call it true when it's finally sung. Got a dog-eared Bible of the things they hide, and a match for the curtains, let the daylight inside. You want comfort? Son, you missed your turn. This road's called real and the edges burn. Honesty don't whisper, it kicks down doors. So brace yourself for what the jukebox is for. This is FAFO, holler it loud. Fuck around with fiction, get the facts drawn. Getting triggers just the cost of the crowd. We're toxic